Hello and welcome again to a new session in Educators Plus. I am Akarshi, your English faculty at Educators Plus. So students, in this session, I have brought some some post-colonial writers question answer that have been asked in your previous year's questions. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the last session, theory session about the post-colonial writers. There I have discussed in detail about the post-colonial theory and the writers associated with that. Okay, and the rest of the writers I'll be discussing in my theories class on Wednesday at 11 a.m. Okay, so I hope you are ready for this MCQ session where you will be practicing your previous year's question, and I'll also be telling you the answer to the question that I have given as the homework in my previous mock test video. Okay, so please tell me, am I audible and visible properly? Please tell me, let me know in the chat box, am I visible and audible properly? Okay, now let's begin with the question that I've given as a homework. Okay, so I've asked you about the Girish Karnad's Hey Vadan, originally which is actually written in Kannada. I told you Girish Karnad is a Kannada writer and he has written the work Hey Vadan, and it has been translated into English by which of the following author? Okay, and the correct answer for this is by the playwright himself. So Girish Karnad has written the play first in Kannada language, then he has translated that play into English language. Okay, so please remember that Girish Karnad Hey Vadan has been translated into English by him only. Okay, so let's begin with the first question. It is a match the column question, and you have to match the writer with their work. Okay, so we have talked about David Maloff, Patrick White, Peter. We had not talked about Peter Carey. We have talked about this writers, and you have to match the works. Okay, so if you have attended my previous session and you have been attended during these writers discussion, then you can easily match the following. Okay, so please let me know in the chat box which is the correct answer, A, B, C or D. कौन सा करेक्ट आंसर है? If you know the novels of David Maloff and Patrick White, which we have discussed in the previous session, then you can easily match the following. Okay. Yes, very good, Devendra. It is B. So A first has been matched with C. Okay, so I have told you David Maloff ने क्या लिखा था? Remembering Babylon. Okay, and Patrick White has written The Solid Mandala. Okay, and then Peter Carey has written True History of the Kelly Gang, and then Colin Johnson has written White Cat Falling. ओके, सो इस कॉलिन जॉनसन की नॉवल का सिर्फ आपको टाइटल याद रखना है, इसके डेप्थ में नहीं जाना है. आई विल बी एक्सप्लेनिंग द रेस्ट ऑफ द 3 novels. So as I talked about remembering Babylon in my previous lecture as well, I'll repeat the same thing again. So it actually, as I told you, narrate a story of an English boy. And what was the name of that boy? Jamie Fairley. Okay, Jamie Fairley was the name of that English boy. ठीक है, Jamie Fairley is the name of that English boy who, what happened to that, he actually has been marooned on a foreign island and is raised by a group of aborigines. And when the natives, these aborigines were the natives of the land, and he was raised by them. Okay, and when the white settlers arrived on that particular area or the land, he attempts to move back in the world of यूरोपियंस. ठीक है, सो बेसिकली पहले अबॉरिजिन्स उनका टेक केयर करते हैं. दे हैव रेज्ड दैट इन दैट पर्टिकुलर कैरेक्टर जेमी फेरले ऑन दैट आइलैंड, एंड लेटर ऑन यूरोपियंस टेक हिम अवे with them. Okay, then we have talked about also about the Patrick White novel the solid mandala. So in the solid mandala, I told you it was a story of two brothers. And what was the name of the brothers? Arthur Brown and Waldo. And as I told you, like Jane Austen, Eleanor and Marianne, it is a conflict between the head and the heart, where Waldo is represented as a rational, cold being, whereas the Arthur has been represented as a warm-hearted person who was instructional. Okay, and later on, who won the battle? In the end, Patrick White shows that Arthur have a better grip of over the life than the conventional Waldo. Okay, so this was a story about solid mandala, and please remember it is a something psychological story. Okay, so it actually deals with the journey of the psychoanalysis of the characters. Okay, next is Peter Carey, True History of Kelly Gang. Again, I have not discussed this particular work in my lecture, so I'll be discussing right now. So the true history of Kelly Gang, it is actually a very kind of a reconstruction of Ned Kelly's life story. So Ned Kelly की जो life story थी, it is a reconstruction of that life story in the form of a novel, True History of the Kelly Gang, and it's partly based on the historical documents. And in this particular novel, having lost his own father at the age of 12 and knowing what it is like to be raised totally in the world of lies and silence, okay, when nobody is there to guide you, when you don't know what is actually your past. Okay, so that kind of a world he has lived with. So he actually made it, he was determined that, and he sets out to write the history of life of his for his infant daughter, who so that she will someday know the totally like know the traits about him. Okay, when he is not living in the future, and when his daughter will grow up, she should not face the same plight which he has faced in the living in the world of silence and lies. Okay, so that's why he writes his own story, so that in case if he doesn't live in the future, that daughter can read this story and can know about her father's well-being. Okay, so this was all the story about True History of Ned Kelly Gang. Fine, let's move ahead. Womanist is to feminist as purple is to lavender. This is an important statement defining the womanist perspective advanced by. Okay, this is the biggest clue, purple. Okay, who is associated with the color purple out of these following writers? Toni Morrison, Zora Neale Hurston, Alice Walker, or Bell Hooks? Okay, please let me know in the chat box. This is the biggest evidence, the color purple. Is it A, B, C, or D? Okay, so the correct answer is Alice Walker. As I told you, purple was the evidence. Why? Because Alice Walker has written a famous feminist work, that is The Color Purple. Okay, The Color Purple. Okay, please remember, the Alice Walker has written a famous work, The Color Purple. Please make a reading of it. It is very important work when it comes to your NET examination. And he has written one more work, that is In the Search of Our Mother's Garden. Again, a very important work. Okay, and you should remember that Alice Walker is an American writer, and she was the first African American woman to win a Pulitzer Prize for fiction. Okay, so please remember these details about Alice Walker, and please make a reading of her work, The Color Purple. Fine. Next, Ian McEwan Saturdays spans one day in the life of. ठीक है, जो इसका जो work है, Saturday is the work of Ian McEwan. It spans one day in the life of which of the following one? A divorce lawyer, an aging pianist, a London neurosurgeon, or a famous poet? Tell me in the chat box, is it A, B, C, or D? Yes, which is the correct answer? Please like the session to mark your attendance. Okay, so the correct answer is a London neurosurgeon. Okay, so please remember Ian McEwan's Saturday deals with a neurosurgeon, and what was the name of that neurosurgeon? Henry Pironi. Okay, it is the name of a neurosurgeon, and he wanted to have a relaxing Saturday. Fine, and when he tried to have a relaxing Saturday, he underwent a lot of through a lot of guilds. Okay, and what was that actually the type of guilds he went through? It was actually a psychological exploration of his psyche. So, and he was a neurosurgeon by profession, and his name was Henry Pironi. Okay, so please remember this. Again, which of the following description is not true of Peter Carey's The True History of Kelly Gang? Okay, so मैंने आपको True History of Kelly Gang के बारे में पढ़ाया था, and which is not a correct form sentence for that. Please let me know in the chat box. Okay, so the correct answer is the novel is dedicated to Edward Kelly's father. Okay, so it was not dedicated to his father, it was dedicated towards his daughter, because whatever aftermath he has suffered after his father's death, so he was not able to know the past, and he was not able to know his identity, and he was living in the world of lies and silence. Okay, so that's why he write this history in order to, when his daughter will grow up. Okay, so she was an infant daughter, right? She was an infant right now, and when she will grow up, so that after reading this particular book, she will know the truth about him. Okay, so that's why it was written. So this is a wrong answer, that it is dedicated to Edward Kelly's father. Okay, and rest of the things are correct. So please note, make a note of all these points about this particular work. Okay, next. Identify the post-apartheid novels by. Okay, so if I hope you know the meaning of epistolary. Epistolary means novels written in the form of letters. Okay, so that is the novel which is written in the form of letters. So it is known as epistolary novel. Fine. Identify the post-apartheid novel by the Nandine Godimer. Okay, so which is that novel which has the theme of post-apartheid? Yes, please let me know. Okay, so the correct answer is the House of Gun. Okay, so these are all the works of Nandini Gordimer, and I will not be telling you about Nandini Gordimer in this particular lecture. I will be discussing in detail about this author in my next theory lecture on Wednesday. Okay, but you should know that what is fourth apartheid? Apartheid era means when the people of different colors, skin, okay, races, they were suppressed or discriminated, and these white people were giving more advantages, being political, social, economical sphere. Okay, so that kind of era was apartheid, and when they got free, these slaves were become free from the British rule. The era came as a post apartheid era. Okay, and this kind of a era is not being depicted in the House of Guns. I will be discussing about all these works in my theory lecture. Okay, so please stay tuned for that one as well. Next, J.M. Coetzee was the first writer to be awarded the Booker Prize twice. He won the prize for which of the following work? Okay, please let me know. Okay, so he has won the Booker Prize for Life and Times of Michael K. and Disgrace. Again, J.M. Coetzee I will be discussing in my theory lecture. So these are set of writers which I will be discussing in my theory lecture. Okay, so please watch the lecture on Wednesday as well. Next. E.M. Foster's passage to India begins with a description of the city of Chandpur. It has an old Indian part and a new part consisting of the British civil station. Which of the following description of the city is not found in the text? Please let me know. I asked you to make a reading of the passage to India. Please make a reading if you haven't, because it's again a very important text. Okay, so the correct answer is the term new civil station is not sensibly planned. So मैंने बताया था E.M. Forster ने the passage to India लिखा है. Okay, and it is a very famous work of E.M. Forster. Please make a reading of it. Who were the main character? Aziz, Mrs. Moore, Adela. These were the main characters, and a racial discrimination or the tension between the British and the natives have been seen or have been portrayed in this particular work. Okay, and a kind of a colonization air is there in this particular work, and how the superiority complex is there in the the colonize the British people or the white people, and how the natives try to mimic them to the white people so that they can be equal to those white people. So all these themes have been discussed. The theme of language, gender, race, ethnicity have been discussed in this particular work, A Passage to India. So please make a reading of A Passage to India. Next. That there are levels and grades of powerlessness in societies, entertaining a mythical norm is indicated. Okay, out of these four options, which is the correct combination? Please let me know. Okay, so the correct answer is 3, by referring to other distortion around differences. Okay, so this is mythical. What first you all understand what is the concept of mythical norm. So mythical norm concept about society says that a society which is dominant and which has a superiority, take over society, is the one who will oppress the other people. Okay, and this kind of society was found basically in the post-colonial era, when the Britishers were actually ruling the different nations, and the writers have depicted this kind of a society in their works. Okay, by referring to other distortion around differences means, I told you, post-colonial literature is the literature of the otherness. Okay, otherness in caste, gender, ethnicity, race, language, okay, place and displacement. All this otherness has been portrayed in the society, or that is indicated by the mythical norm. So that's why third option is correct, that it deals with the other distortions around differences. Fine, let's move ahead. Which of the following statement is not true about Patrick White? Okay, so Patrick White was an Australian writer, and which of the following is not true about him? Yes, which is not true about them? Okay, so the correct answer is, he is the only Australian to receive the Nobel Prize in Literature. So he is not the only, he is the first. Okay, he is the first Australian to receive the Nobel Prize in Literature. He is not the only writer to receive a Nobel Prize in Literature from Australia. Okay, so that's why it is a wrong option. Fine. Next. Which of the following statement is not true of Wolf Sorinka, the swamp dwellers? Okay, which of the following is not true? Is it A, B, C, or D? Okay, so the correct answer is, it is a confrontation between the traditional and the modern society. Okay, again, Bolshevinka I will be covering in my next video lecture on Wednesday. Okay, till then you can make a reading of the swamp dwellers, and I will be discussing this work in my next lecture. Fine. Next, which of the following statements best describe J.M. Coetzee disgrace? I told you disgrace has won a Booker Prize and J.M. Coetzee is renowned for this particular work. So, which of the following statement best describe J.M. Coetzee? Please remember, he is a post-colonial writer. So, keeping in mind that he is a post-colonial writer, answer this question, you will be able to get the right answer. Yes, what is the correct answer? Is it A, B, C, or D? Okay, so the correct answer to this question, it is a complex narrative of sin and redemption which involves both white and black Africans. Okay, so I told you racial discrimination, racial tensions has been there or a part of the post-colonial theory. So by keeping in mind that only, you can just answer. That's why we actually first tell you the umbrella term and then go about the writers, because आपको concept समझना बहुत ही ज़रूरी होता है. It's very important to understand the concept, and if you know what are the main themes of the post-colonial writings and you know that J.M. Coates is a post-colonial writer, then you would have easily made out this option. ठीक है? So that's why racial discussion between the white and blacks are there, and this has been portrayed in the work Disgrace as well. Fine. Next. I will also be discussing about J.M. Coates in my next lecture. Which of these authors is not a writer of African American slave narrative? Okay, जो African American slave writer कौन नहीं है इनमें से? Please let me know in the chat box. Okay, so the correct answer is Phyllis Whitley. So Phyllis Whitley was a slave, but she has not written a American slave narratives. Okay, she has written a poem after being released from slavery. Okay, so please remember, she was a slave, but she has not portrayed the slave narrative in her works. Okay, so that's why Phyllis Whitley is a right writer. Fine. Next. Which of the following statement is not true about Kazuo Ishiguro's Remains of the Day? Okay, why? Because the novel. What are the correct options? Please let me know in the chat box. Yes, what is the correct answer? Okay, so the right answer is uses the classic English detective story form. Okay, so please remember, The Remains of the Day is a Nobel Award winning novel of Kashiguro in 2017. Okay, so 2017 में इसको Nobel Prize मिला था for this work. Fine, and this work deals with a thwarted life, and it shows how class conditioning can actually turn out you to be a very complex character. Okay, so आप कैसे class conditioning से your mind become confused and you are in dilemma, and how your character become complex, and how this particular conditioning can become your own enemy only. ठीक है, so this kind of a narrative has been set in this work, The Remains of the Day, and it is not at all a detective story. Fine, so please make a reading of The Remains of the Day. Fine. Next. Which of the following statement is not true of many contemporary African writers? Okay, so please tell me you can easily make out from, if you know the post-colonial narrative or post-colonial theory which I've explained, you can easily make out from this statement which is the odd one out. Okay, and this, please let me know. Which is the correct answer, and please like the session to mark your attendance. Okay, so they celebrate unambiguously the benefits of Western education. So they never used to celebrate anything of the Western culture. ठीक है, they used to mimic, but they never used to celebrate. ठीक है, तो वो Western चीजों को, that's why the disparity between language, class, gender, religion, race, ethnicity क्यों आया था? Because they were never able to accept the British, or you can say the colonizers, things. Okay, and they never accepted the benefits of Western education, so that's why it is a wrong option. Fine. Next. Okay, so this is your homework question. Given below are the two statements. So these are two statements about the post-colonial writers. Okay, that some post-colonial writers maintain that being unhomed is not the same as being homeless. Okay, so I told you what's the main narrative of the post-colonial writing, that you cannot go back to home again. Okay, so ये चीज थी, it is the motto, or you can say the main tagline of the post-colonial writings. ठीक है, you cannot go back to home again. So yeah, homeless or unhomed का concept आ जाता है. So this is the your assertion, and because the migrants are not at home in themselves, their cultural identity crisis has made them psychological refugees. Okay, so in which context you can say the assertion and reason have a link. So these are 4 contexts, and you have to tell me in the comment section of this particular video which is the correct answer, and I'll be telling you the right answer in my next lecture, and will be telling the name also of the of any of you who have given the right answer. Okay, any problem you can just post in the chat box. So that's all about today. So we have discussed few questions of the post-colonial writers that have come in your previous years, and the writers which I have not discussed, and I will be, because I will be telling about them as in my next video lecture, or you can say theory lecture on Wednesday. So please stay tuned for that lecture, and please like the session, comment your views about the session in the comment section, and subscribe to the channel for more such updates. Okay, I hope you all are enjoying the lectures and are taking care of yourselves, and I bid farewell to all of you. See you again on Wednesday at 11 a.m. Thank you so much.